Hello again, and welcome to Caerphilly Works, our fortnightly podcast aimed at bringing you news and information all about getting into work in Caerphilly. So last week we spoke to Farah, one of our triage officers, about her role in the team and how she supported the employability programs in getting people into work. We also mentioned a little bit about another key role in our teams, the employment mentor. In this episode, we'll be speaking with one of the employment mentors about their role and how they support people in finding work. So, today I'm joined by June, who is one of our Communities for Work Plus employment mentors, who is here to tell us a little bit about what the employment mentor is and what they do. So the employment mentors within our wider teams are sometimes called employment advisors or employment officers as well. So firstly, thank you, June, for being here today.
Very welcome.
So I guess the most important question that people would like to know is, how does an employment mentor support somebody into work?
What happens usually is we get a referral, usually from the job centre through our triage team, and I will contact those individuals by phone to first of all check the circumstances are still the same, that they still want our support to get back into work. We sign them onto our programme by completing an initial assessment document, which is compiled of various questions, all sorts of things that we need to know about you and your work history, what you're looking to do, what your skills and experience are, what training you might have or training you might want. Find out how we can put together a perfect programme for you to get the kind of job you're looking for. The initial assessment takes about maybe half an hour. We usually do that at the moment on the phone because of the working from home restrictions. But, ordinarily we'd meet face to face in a local library or the job centre, and we'd have regular meetings throughout our time together to hopefully progress with training and or mentoring and getting you, job ready, and then help you with applications, interview process when you get interviews, until hopefully you get a job.
I'm guessing a lot of that work you do, different people come through with obviously different issues and different things kind of maybe stop them going into work. Some people just need the basics like CVs, help with applications and things. But obviously there's a lot of people out there with maybe some more complex barriers. And I know last week we spoke to Farah a little bit about barriers. But can you tell us a little bit what kind of barriers you experience as a mentor and how you'd break some of those barriers down?
I suppose that one of the most frequent ones is maybe your lack of training. Usually it's vocational training, so it could be if someone's been out of work for a little while and their training they've had has expired, for example, first aid or food hygiene, if they're looking to go into that kind of area. So we can help them get a refresher for that course, for that training, and we can provide the funding for that. So it doesn't cost the person coming to us anything at all. Once they sign on to our programme, the training is free, which is really important for them to know. We can also refer them to the training providers. At the moment, a lot of our training is online, so people are doing it from home. So as long as they've got the IT equipment and they're familiar with IT, then we can sort that out really quickly, really easily, and people can have it done within weeks if they want to. They do it in their own time, at their own speed. My understanding is a lot of the tests these days are multiple choice. There's no exam at the end of it. It's quite, once you've read enough and you know enough, then you can tick a few boxes and hopefully you'll pass. People at the moment as well, if they've been out of work for a little while, it could be that they've got mental health issues. So we can make referrals to other agencies to help them. We can also make referrals to childcare support agencies. So yeah, I think we've got a big scope. We can contact lots of people. We don't know everything, but we always know a man who can. So we can sort it out that way.
So you've got a nice little network there, obviously, of organisations and other support services kind of to plug into when you need them.
Yeah, and I mean, if our people coming through don't know who to go to, we can have that conversation during one of our one-to-ones. I'll find out what gaps they have in the sort of the process to getting work. It could be, circumstances at home, or it could be health issues. And if I certainly can't help, because I'm not medically trained by any means, but if I can't help in that respect, I'll be able to refer to other agencies who can give them that additional support. I mean, we do have a questionnaire which guides our questions, but that covers all sorts of health. And I tend to ask those questions. What kind of things would prevent you getting into work? If you were looking for a particular job, for example, what kind of things would prevent you doing that work that you want to do? And if it's mental health or confidence, self-esteem, then we can help provide people or steer people in the right direction to get that kind of support. If it's support they need with a physical disability, we can also have access to an organisation called Remploy, which I use a lot, and they can help too. They sometimes have connections with sympathetic employers, people who will employ people with disabilities or physical restrictions maybe, and they will give them a chance to get work within a circumstance that suits their physical restrictions. For example, if somebody has arthritis and they're not very mobile, then we can search for employers who have the kind of work that where arthritis won't hold them back.
Brilliant. And again, that's good to have. I mean, a lot of people might be quite confused about where to go. There's a lot of different services out there that people can access. But I guess when they come to a mentor, you've got the expertise, you've got the network of people to kind of, look at what that person needs and be able to signpost them to go through the journey. Maybe, I guess not everyone will stay with you for the entire time. If there's a really complicated barrier, I'm guessing you probably pass them on, and then they may come back through, later on once they're kind of feeling a little bit better in themselves later. Yeah,
and also what I find too is, although people come to us from the job centre initially because they're looking for work, sometimes the job is the end goal, but it's not something that they can achieve with me. They might need to do other things first. So it could be, for example, one lady I'm working with at the moment, she's got no ID. She's not had her own home for a long time. Obviously, with a lot of jobs, you need certain forms of ID to be able to take up employment. So we're helping her secure some proper ID. So she's going to get a photo driving licence, a replacement birth certificate, all that kind of stuff. So they're the documents that you're going to need. So sometimes once you've got those documents, we'll work on those, then we'll focus on the training, and then we'll focus on the job at the very end. So the journey could be quite long, really. People might think they're going to be with us for a few months and then they'll have a job. That's not always the case. There's lots of other things you need to get sorted out first before you're ready for work. Some people have been out of work for a long time, or they've been recently made redundant after being in work for a very long time. So they're at an age where maybe they thought, I didn't think I'd need to look for a job again. So that's a massive barrier because it affects their confidence, their self-esteem. They thought they'd be in a job for life. They find out they're not. And then they're wondering, what can I do at my age? I mean, they might only be in their 50s or early 60s, but they're still too young to receive state pension. They're still too young to retire. So we need to support people in that age group to feel as though there is something they can still contribute, because there absolutely is.
With that, I guess, and we've seen that quite a lot with people who are older. I don't know if you've had the same thing, but I've had a lot of people say to me, I know they're looking for young people.
Yeah.
They don't want to take anybody on who's older. How would you kind of put someone's mind at ease? Because I know that's not true, but what conversation would you be having with that person?
Well, I could use myself as a prime example. I'm an older person. I'm not yet ready to retire, but I'm certainly not a young un. And I'm still working. So I could use myself as a good example. If people have this gap in their employment, use it as an opportunity to think, if you had no barriers at all, what would you like to do? And then work back from there. Because if it's something, fantastical, then obviously we need to make sure it's realistic. But if they wanted to be, for example, somebody in their 50s wanted to be a nurse and never had the opportunity, then we could refer them to some sort of training organisation, very often through Careers Wales. Start off with small, low-level qualifications and build them up, so that when in maybe 2 or 3 years' time, they can take up a level 4+ qualification or degree level qualification and go into nursing, and they can be the nurse they've always wanted to be. Even if they're in their 50s going on 60s, doesn't mean they've not got nothing to contribute, because they certainly have. I mean, very often we come across people who've been caring for family for years, so they've got the caring experience, they know what they're doing, they've got the empathy and the sympathy, they just haven't got the qualifications, so we can help them with that.
Yeah, and this is, like you said, it's never too late. And a lot of people think, you hit a certain age and you think, I'm too old to learn anything new. I'm too old to go back, do any kind of qualification, do any kind of training at all. I mean, I've known someone who went back to university and did the degree when he was 65. It's never too late to learn and to change a career or have something different.
Yeah, and a lot of people coming through don't have any formal qualifications from school or college, but they can start small. They can start with vocational training. They can start with a level 2 qualification, move on to a level 3, level 4, and that will build their confidence in their own ability to learn. And some people doubt the fact that they can do any qualifications at all or any exams at all, but it starts off small. Like I said, a lot of the level 2, especially these days, it's a multiple choice question, but you still need to have the knowledge to answer the questions. And once you've done that, you've got the confidence of having achieved that, then you can move on to something else.
And I think a lot of people as well, especially if you didn't really do as well as you would have in school, when you start mentioning training and qualifications and going back to learning again, they kind of have flashbacks of going back to school. And it's that thing of like, it's not like school.
It's not a
different.
classroom situation
No.
very often. No, you're right. I mean, especially these days, as long as you've got some IT and you know what to do with a computer, you can do it at your own pace. No one's looking over your shoulder, watching what you're doing. You can study in your own time. You can read it over tens of times if you need to get it into your head, to make it sense, to have it make sense. And then when you're ready, then you do the test. So that the time pressure is off as well. So there's
that's brilliant, especially for a lot of people, especially if you're not working and you're struggling to pay for things at the moment. It's nice to know that, you know, you're there to help them financially. I mean, what other kind of financial things can you help? I know there's loads out there, but what are the main like financial things you help people with?
In the good old days before COVID, people used to go on training courses. We first of all pay for the training, which is massive, then pay for the access to the training. So if they need a bus or a train to get to a location, we can pay for that. We can also cover costs if, for example, if they're successful in getting an interview, we can also cover the cost of if they need clothes for an interview, because some people don't have the shirt and tie and the trousers and the smart skirt and a nice pair of shoes because they can't afford it. They can't afford that luxury almost. But we have funding for that. And the idea is that if you present yourself in a certain way, ideally, then you show willing, you show you're keen, and then hopefully we'll get you a job. So we can pay for all those kind of things.
That's really good, because a shirt and tie isn't really a part of everyone's wardrobe these days. I mean,
very rare occasion.
No, I think I've got my wedding suit in the wardrobe somewhere, and I think that's my only suit that I own at the moment.
Yeah, and it's a lot of money if you're only going to wear it maybe once a year or once a lifetime or whatever, So exactly. If we can help with that, I've helped people go to the likes of Asda to buy some nice smart clothes for an interview, and then they get the job, which was even makes us all feel better.
So say I come into the project, I'm a single parent, I have 2 children, and I'm looking for work around my childcare needs. How would you support me?
We have contact with families first. When we sign people on, we ask for them to give us permission to speak to other agencies on their behalf. So that's something we do with all participants, as long as they're happy for us to do that. We'll share their information with relevant agencies in relation to job search. So it's not something we're going to give their details out willy-nilly. But obviously, we need to be able to share and work with other agencies, other partner agencies, to help make the job journey as successful as possible. Single parents, we would like to suggest we would probably contact families first, and they can help provide information in relation to childcare, whether it's private or whether it's after school or before school clubs, things like that. So obviously, lots of people want school-friendly hours. Yeah. And although a lot of jobs are in that respect are very difficult to get, sometimes we can help with managing the childcare either side of full-time hours. But we have agencies that we can contact on their behalf. And what, in my experience, once I've made that referral to the organisation, they contact the people I'm working with, and they will work with them on a one-to-one in that area of expertise. In relation to supporting the individual, very often we'll look for part-time hours if we can. We'll help them establish contacts with organisations, depending on the kind of work they're looking for. And we tend to know as well which areas of work will be happy to offer part-time hours. Very often in retail, there's lots of shifts that can be managed around childcare. Sometimes work in personal care can be managed around childcare, but it depends on what availability people have regarding family or friends as well too. We can tap into that if they're able to make use of those supports as well.
So it's just telling people you're quite flexible around their needs.
Absolutely, yes. And that we've got other agencies. If we don't know the information, then we can contact somebody else who might know. That
kind of leads me on a little bit to something I think a lot of people might be feeling is pressure to get a job that they're not comfortable getting. And I know this doesn't happen in the team, but maybe is there something you can kind of put people's minds at ease that if they did come into the project, you're not going to sit down and tell someone, right, you're going off and you're going to go work as a labourer if they want to go and do something with care, or if they want to, work in retail and you're trying to get them to go down a route they don't want to go down.
No, absolutely not. And that's what I say to a lot of the people I'm working with. Working with me, although they might have a job in mind, what I tend to say to them is try and think of a job that you're going to want to do that's going to be sustainable, that's going to be for keeps, certainly for hopefully a couple of years. There's nothing to stop people looking for work while they're in work, but what we want is whatever job they do is for it to be successful. So if family circumstances currently mean that you can't do I don't know, factory work, for example, because very often we do continental shifts in factories. So they have like a 3 lots of shift patterns. So early hours of the morning, early part of the day, latter part of the day. If you can't commit to that rota of constantly changing shifts, then I'm not going to suggest you go for that particular job because it's not going to work.
Yeah.
So I'm setting you up to fail, really, which is not what we want to do. So even if we see things that sort of within the ballpark area of interest, it's got to be feasible, it's got to be doable, and it's got to be workable for yourself as an individual and for any family that you've got to think about as well. There's no pressure to take anything. We try and work on something that you want to do and that you're going to stick at.
Making sure that it's comfortable for them. It's something that they want to stay with for a long time. Maybe they'll always change your mind later on down the line. Nothing to say you do the same job for the rest of your life. You can always change.
Not many people do these days, do they? Not many people have a job in life. Yeah.
Guess just making sure you're happy, really, in what you're doing. And, the happier you are in the field you want to go into, the more likely you are to stay at the job that you do eventually find.
I think as well, if people are successful in any kind of job, it boosts their confidence and their self-esteem. Yeah. After being able to work for a while, sometimes people get a bit down. They're applying for as many jobs as they can possibly think of, and very often they don't get any response, which is very demoralising. Sadly, employers don't often respond to every application because there's usually too many. But if we can just encourage them, if they get close, to ask for some sort of feedback. I do that an awful lot. If someone has an interview and they're not successful, I always suggest they go back and ask why, because if it's qualifications, then we can help. Very often we can sort of lessen the blow, if you like, because getting an interview is massive. It's a really good boost to their confidence, but not getting the job can be a bit of a deflator, really, if they think they're so close but not close enough. But if we can find out why they didn't quite get the job, then we can help them to support them for the next interview they get.
I think that the more you know, the better prepared you are for the next one.
Yeah, and if you're on a roll getting interviews, then that's a confidence boost too.
With the experience part as well, there's other ways of getting experience, even if it's doing like maybe a little bit of voluntary work or something, or a little bit of a placement somewhere. And I know we've got obviously our business liaison officers who might be able to get some of those opportunities for us.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes too as well, I've noticed when I ask people what they've done previously, they don't count certain things as voluntary work, even though they've done it. They won't count family care as experience, but it certainly is. I mean, a lot of people do things without even thinking it's job worthy, when it just being at home, managing a home, you're managing a budget, you're managing people, you're managing timetables for children, all those kind of things can build up to quite a decent CV if you think about it.
So the last thing I'd just like to ask is, as a mentor, what's the one thing you love most about your job?
No 2 days the same. It's really interesting as well to find out. I mean, at the moment it's more difficult because we're on the phone an awful lot of the time, but getting to meet these different people. I mean, we see them as people who come to us from the job centre who are out of work. We don't always know their back history, but that's good to find out what they did before, or what their family situation is at the moment, or jobs they may have had or they would like to have. So just getting to find out what people are up to. It's just the people side of it I like. And it's also really nice. I mean, there was one lady who I've been working with for a little while now, probably a couple of years, which is longer than should be on my particular programme. But she didn't even get a job. But I helped her through various agencies find more suitable accommodation for her because she's got health issues. And she still phones me now on a regular basis for a bit of updates, for a bit of a chat. And that's lovely that she still thinks I'm worthy of a phone call from her when she's no longer working with me on my caseload. That is lovely. But it's just things like that, just talking to people, finding out what they're about and being interested in them and see if we can help them get, I mean, obviously they want to come to us to get jobs if they can get into work, but making them feel as though they're worth something as they are. And they've got something good to contribute.
And like you've said previously as well, it's not only about getting the job. There's other things as well that people can kind of work towards. And like with that lady in particular, it wasn't the job at the end of the day. It was something else.
Yeah, and that's where we work with very closely and very successfully with other agencies. I mean, I made a referral to housing, to Caerphilly Council Housings Department. She's deliriously happy where she is now. And it's lovely to hear in her voice because she hasn't got a job. That doesn't matter. Her health issues are such that she probably can't pursue a job at the moment. But she's very happy where she lives. And if she's happy, then she's in a better place to start looking for work as and when the time is right.
And it's just nice hearing, and I hope everyone else can hear as well, how much, I know all the mentors And I know they care, and it's just nice to see, you know, how much you care about, you know, supporting that person. It's not just, you know, some random, you know, voice at the end of a phone, and I'll just get them a job. You spend that time building that relationship with them, getting to know them, getting to know what they want, what they need, and helping them to kind of achieve the goals that they've set their mind towards as well. So, no, it's just nice for everyone to kind of to hear that coming from yourself. So thank you so much for being with us today, June.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Hopefully we can catch up with you again in the future, just to see how things are progressing in the world of the employment mentor. So this week we have 5 job opportunities coming to us from the Job Centre. The first of these is a seasonal sales assistant with the card factory in Bargoed. The job duties include providing excellent customer service to customers at all times, processing all sales politely, efficiently and accurately whilst upselling and engaging customers on the sales floor and tills, unloading and unpacking deliveries and merchandising products across the shop floor. This is a part-time job with a salary of up to £8.91 per hour, and the closing date is October the 16th. Our next job is a steward or stewardess with Arthur Balfour Conservative Club. This role involves ensuring the clubhouse is fully operational and ready to use. The post holder will oversee the management of the day-to-day operations of the clubhouse and premises, and the position requires someone with excellent organisational skills and a can-do attitude. The post is based in Aberbargoed. It is full-time, permanent, and has a closing date of October the 27th. Our final jobs come from the Just Love Food Company based in the Oakdale Business Park. They are looking for over 20 people to fill 3 different positions across the company. The first of these is the production role, which includes decorating and packing cakes, and the hours of work are Monday to Friday between 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. The wage is based at the national minimum wage. The second is part of the cleaning team, and as an allergen-aware site, cleaning is a vital part of the business. The hygiene team are responsible for swab testing equipment and general cleaning responsibilities. The hours of work here are, again, Monday to Friday from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m, and the rate of pay is based at £9.22 per hour. And the final role is within the day shift baking team. This team is responsible for detinning cakes after they have been baked, weighing ingredients and mixing up the batter. The hours of work here are again Monday to Friday from 5:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. and is again paid at the national minimum wage. For more information or to apply for any of these jobs, you can contact your Job Centre work coach or get in touch with us directly through social media or by calling 01443 864 227. If you're a local business who would like to advertise your job roles through this podcast or any of our other channels, you can get in touch with us again through our social media channels or by calling us direct on 01443 864 227. So that brings us to the end of another episode. On our next episode in 2 weeks, we'll be hearing from Sarah, who will be speaking to you about redundancy and how we can support you if you have been made or are in the process of being made redundant. If you would like to get in touch, you can always contact us directly through our social media, email us at communityregen@caerphilly.gov.uk, or by calling us on 01443 864 227. This podcast is now available on a variety of podcasting sites, including Spotify and Google Podcasts, as well as YouTube. So, until next time, stay safe, take care, and we'll speak to you soon. Bye!
The Caerphilly Works podcast is a collaboration between Communities for Work, Communities for Work Plus, Bridges into Work 2, Inspire to Work, Working Skills for Adults, and NET. The Communities for Work Employment Support Team is funded by the Welsh Government and the European Social Fund, working in partnership with Communities and Job Centre Plus.